Hey there, Mike Barbanica, Antioch City Council, District 2. Well, it's your Wednesday morning wrap-up. It's 5/31/23. Last night we had a special meeting, and I want to go over that special meeting. This meeting was called by myself, Mayor Pro Tem Torres Walker, and agreed to by Councilmember Ogerchok. In attendance at the meeting were myself, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Ogerchok, Councilmember Wilson. The mayor was not in attendance at the meeting. So let's talk about the two items that were on the agenda. And by the way, it was a very successful meeting. Several of the council members have believed over the last 2.5 years that it's been a difficult time getting items on the agenda. There's been a claim that it's based on staff capacity, but if you look at our agenda items or agenda list over the last 2.5 years, these are packed agendas, packed. And so it's very convenient to use the excuse, well, it's because of staff capacity, because it makes you look like, wow, we really care and so on. That's not the case. If it was based on staff capacity, we wouldn't have been packing these items and having 6, 7, plus hour meetings with all of these things for staff to do. And staff has been saying for some time, cut us some slack. But the intensity of these agendas have continued while people within the council have been left off of the agenda and their items left off of the agenda. So last night we heard things like this is right wing, this is race-based, so on and so forth. Mayor Pro Tem Torres Walker and I got together on this initially 2 Saturdays ago. And we talked about that. We knew that that would be claimed, that this somehow had something to do with race or ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. This is about running the city and doing it the right way, governing the city and giving every district an equal voice of being able to at least be heard and an item being brought to an agenda and being heard. So here's what we agreed on last night to move forward with. The next step is going to be coming back with a resolution, and if that is supported by a council majority, this will become moving forward the way we do business. First one, timeframes. I get a lot of complaints from people that the meetings are just too long, people in the community that want to hear what's going on, but they're asking us to do something about the time. They said, look, we can't sit there and watch this for 5 hours and 6 hours and so on. And I hear that. So we agreed last night that we are going to enforce the policy of an 11 p.m. stop time unless council agrees upon it in that meeting. Second one, if we don't get to an item, it will go to the next agenda and it will be the first item on that agenda. This avoids somebody's item being placed last. Oh, sorry, we ran out of time. And then it goes back into this 6-month hole and you don't know where it's at. So that avoids that. We talked about limiting the amount of items on the agenda, but instead what we're going to do is make sure that the time is enforced. 3 agenda items that will be placed or reserved for council members' requests. If there are no requests, those don't have to be filled, or they could be used for something else that maybe staff needs or the city needs, city business. So 3 items. Instead of a 6-month, which was not adhered to, the 6 months was not adhered to. In other words, we request an item be placed on the agenda. It's supposed to make it back within 6 months. We shortened that to 90 days. We also talked about the limiting certain hearings, public hearings, et cetera. And what we did was instead, we're going to adhere to the 11 o'clock stop time. Each council member, again, will have an agenda item come back within 90 days of making that request. And we feel that as a council, the majority of the council, that this is a step in the right direction. This was never about stripping the mayor of total authority to set an agenda. That process will still continue, but what this will allow is council members to have a voice and to make sure if they have an agenda item that they want for their district or somewhere else in the city, that they can get that item on the agenda and there are no games. There's no, in other words, a council member doesn't have to cut a deal with something to get something on the agenda or be of a certain mindset relative to, well, if you support this, this will happen. This is 90 days. It has to come back on the agenda. And again, this is about running the city and governing the city. This is not about a person or people, but this agenda issue has been an issue long before this current city council. So we were very much in the mindset of this is not about one person. Council members that have been there longer than myself and the mayor pro tem talked about last night that this was an issue even prior to. And when we got on council, when we were elected, we saw things that hadn't been addressed from the previous council. So this is nothing new. It's not about one person. And I know there are people out there that want to make it about one person. It's not. This is about a more efficient way to run the city government. Thank you to all my colleagues that attended the meeting. And I wanted to make sure you had all this info. Mike Barbanica, Antioch City Council, District 2. Have a great day. Bye-bye.